I just spent the last 3 weekends visiting 3 comic book shows, and I came away with 3 piles of books. All right, made it to Lawrence. A little sprinkly, rainy day, but that's nice. Love this weather, keeps it cool. Let's see what we got. The first show was KC Fancon, and that one is held in Lawrence, Kansas. Now, this is the type of show that I would consider to be a standard comic book show. It is definitely not a Comic Con per se. This is pretty much purely comic book vendors at this show, and it was really exciting to go to this one. It was the first time I'd ever been there, and it was definitely worth the multiple hour drive. Saturday morning, birds are literally chirping. Who knows if you can hear them. We're headed to a driveway comic book show. A couple local folks setting up in a driveway to sell some comics. Let's see if we can find anything. All right, well, this is the reminder to get to sales early. It's supposed to start at 10. There's a huge crowd here. I'm about a little less than 5 minutes early. Tons of people here. Let's get hunting, see what we can find. The second show I visited was actually the first instance of this show, and it was called Driveway Con. It was put together by a local comic book vendor here in Wichita, and he invited a couple other of the vendors in this area to hang out in his driveway on a Saturday morning and afternoon, and just to, bring in the community together and selling and trading comics. So that was a really cool experience. It had rained like overnight and early in the morning, so I was kind of worried that he would maybe get rained out, but it turned out to be a great show, and I'm excited and hopeful that they're going to have another one next year. Now, Smallville ComicCon is based in Hutchinson, Kansas, and that's actually where I was born and grew up. And about 10 years ago, they kind of had a proclamation to say that they wanted to name a day of the year Smallville Day and kind of call Hutchinson Smallville based on the town from the Superman comics. And that's been a pretty great success for the town of Hutchinson, and this comic show just keeps bringing in great guests, great comic book vendors, and I always love heading to that hometown show. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at my pile from KC Fancon. Now, this is definitely the biggest pile that I picked up over the last few weekends, and includes some of the books that I am the most excited to add to my personal collection. All right, first up are some Amazing Spider-Man run fillers that I've got here. No major keys or anything like that, but I did pick up Amazing Spider-Man 139, 140, 160, 186, 191, 196, 241, and 242. Like I said, none of these were major keys or anything like that, but they were all books that I needed for my Amazing Spider-Man run. My goal for my Amazing Spider-Man run is to hopefully someday pick up 1 through 400. I have a few books in the sub 100 range, but obviously those become much more expensive as you go down to the smaller numbers, and there's obviously some of those big books in the hundreds, 129, first appearance of Punisher, things like that, that have a higher price, but I'm really making some good headway in the hundreds, 200s, and 300s. All right, next up are some X-Men books, and I'm gonna actually go backwards as far as when these books came out, because I'm gonna show some of the newer books that I picked up and then go back to some older books that I think are actually cooler than the newer stuff. But I've been working on the X-Men 92 run, so I picked up issue number 1, issue number 7. Now these are all also David Nakayama covers. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you'll know that I'm on a kick of a couple artists that I've been picking up their books and really getting excited about, David Nakayama being one of them. I also picked up issue number 9 and issue number 10. Now I know I had another copy of this, but I just couldn't pass it up. I love this cover and happy to add it to my collection. And I also picked up a variant of issue number 1. Now this is the Hastings variant. They were a local, well, I don't want to say local, kind of a regional, man, back in the day, I used to go there in the 80s and 90s to rent VHS movies with my parents, you know, and they kind of evolved over the years to DVD and things like that. But towards the end of their existence, they got into selling comic books a lot, so much so that they were a very major comic book retailer in the United States. And so they had some variants of their own, store variants. So it was kind of cool to see this Hastings variant, and I had to add it to the collection. All right, and like I said, we're moving back in time with the X-Men, so I picked up a pretty beat copy of X-Men 201. This is another run filler that I needed. It's got some crazy water damage on the cover and back, and, you know, pretty wavy. But you know what? This was pretty cheap, so I decided to at least get it to fill my run, and I can always replace it in the future with a better copy. And then I saved the best for last on X-Men. I picked up a copy of X-Men number 64. Now, when I was flipping through this vendor's pile of books, he didn't really have a lot of superhero type books in his collection. He had a lot of art and things like that, but none of it was really superhero based. But I was looking through his collection and see what he had for sale, and I came across this book, and I actually got this for only $3, which was pretty amazing. It's not in the best of shape by any means, but you know what? For sub 100 X-Men book, $3, a 15-center, you can't beat that very often, so I definitely had to grab this book as well. Now this may surprise some of you if you've watched my videos in the past, but I did pick up a couple of DC comics from the show as well. The first up being issue number 1 of Superman Volume 2. Just kind of a cool cover here, origin and reintroduction of Metallo. And then I went ahead and picked up Batman 108. I'm a sucker for art germ covers and just had to grab this one as well. It's the first appearance of Miracle Molly. Heading back over to the Marvel side of the road, I picked up 2 issues of Spider-Woman. This is issue number 12 and issue number 26. This is another run that I'm kind of putting together when I find them. I keep track of what I've got in my personal collection, and I'll flip through boxes every now and then to look for them. And these 2 just happen to be a couple issues that I didn't have in my collection yet. Going back to that artist theme, another artist that I've really become a fan of over the last couple years is Adam Hughes, and I found 3 comics in the Ghost series. The first one being the Ghost Special. Just love his artwork with his bold outlines of his characters that he does. It just really makes them stand out, and you know, I gotta say it, he draws the female form pretty amazingly, male form as well. But just the artwork that he does is pretty amazing. So like I said, I picked up the Ghost Special, issue number 1 and issue number 2. Now, someone that Adam Hughes took a lot of inspiration from and I've been on a huge kick for is Dave Stevens. And I just happened to luck out at this show up in Lawrence and came away with quite a few Dave Stevens books. Now, I picked up a few of these from the vendor that was set up kind of prominently in the entrance when you got to the show, and he's actually the guy that runs this show. He's a guy named Craig, really great guy. It was my first time meeting him, but we struck up a conversation and just had a really nice introduction to each other, what we talked about comics, what we liked, some of the artists that we've been collecting and books we've been collecting, and he sold me quite a few of these Dave Stevens covers. Now, I think I ended up purchasing 4 books with Dave Stevens cover art from him, and the first one up is True Love number 1. All right, now I like to keep this channel family friendly, so I'm not going to show the cover of these next 2 books in their entirety. But I did pick up Cheval Noir issue number 1 and issue number 7. Again, these are Dave Stevens covers with some amazing artwork on there. I'm going to throw up some images of these covers with a little bit of it blurred out. There's just a little bit of what I'd say is probably not family friendly by any means artwork on these covers, but still just amazing artwork, and happy to add them to my collection. And the last 2 books that I want to show you from KC Fancon are, again, Dave Stevens books. The first one being Alien Worlds issue number 2. I just love this cover. You have this little creature down here running away. He's got this like almost gesture type costume on with the bells on his toes. And you have the female character here, Aurora, obviously being shot at and firing back at her enemies chasing her. Just a really cool book. Again, love his art and can't get enough of it. And I just also happened to pick up Alien Worlds number 4. This is actually my favorite Alien Worlds cover that he did. Again, we have this female character on the front kind of crawling out of this crashed spaceship, and she's accompanied by this little flying robot with her, and just looks like she's crashed on this planet. The way she's crawling out and just her facial expression and, just the form is just so realistic and looks great. Love this Dave Stevens artwork. You're going to hear me talk about it a lot more in the future, I think, I just can't get enough of it. All right, now the second show I went to was that Driveway Con, and again, this was that first iteration of the show here in town, and unfortunately, while I did pick up a pile of books from this show, I already put them into my short boxes in my collection here, and I cannot remember for the life of me what books I bought. I know I bought some Amazing Spider-Man run fillers. None of them were keys or anything like that. I really don't remember which issues I bought. I think I picked up about half a dozen books and maybe a couple Uncanny X-Men books as well. Like I said, I don't remember. I just got home, marked them off on my list, and filed them away and forgot to keep them to the side so that I could include them in this video. But don't worry, I do have a bonus pile of books sitting right here that we're going to go through at the end of the video after we talk about the pile of books right here from Smallville ComicCon. All right, so let's get into these books now. Another run that I've been picking up, and it's a great way to get some of those earlier Spider-Man books at an affordable price, or I should say Spider-Man stories, is Marvel Tales. And I happened to pick up Marvel Tales number 37, 108, 118, 119, and 123. Again, these are all run fillers for my run of Marvel Tales, and that one's filling up pretty nicely. I've collected almost all of that run. There's a couple, sub 10 and 20 issues that I don't have, but I have the majority of the rest of the collection, which is kind of cool. Getting pretty excited to finish that run. Another small series I'm also trying to finish up is Sensational She-Hulk, and I happen to pick up issue number 4 and issue number 10. And then moving back over to Amazing Spider-Man itself, I happened to pick up more books for that run, including 161, 164, 172, 183, 206, 220, 243, 290, and 306. And then I picked up a late edition Amazing Spider-Man Spiral Part 3, just a cool cover with Spider-Man and Black Cat on the cover here. All right, now like I said, I didn't have a pile from Driveway Con, but I do have a small pile here. I'm gonna call this my bonus pile. 3 books here to go with the theme of this video. The 3 weekends, 3 shows, 3 piles. First one is a Voltron number 1 that I picked up at a local antique shop here in town the other day. I had been there a couple weeks ago, probably a month ago, and picked up a really cool pulp sci-fi book. No comics. They did have some comics in the store at the time, but nothing I wanted to pick up. And I just happened to run back in there again after Driveway Con, just to see what they had, if they had gotten anything new, or maybe I'd missed something. I think that I had missed something, or maybe they brought them out, but I found a pile of books in the corner of a room that I didn't really pay attention to. And this one just happened to be on top, so I went ahead and picked that up. Big fan of, 80s and 90s cartoons, toys, things like that. So Voltron is way up there on my list, and I didn't have a copy of this and just had to grab it for the collection. All right, next up in this short bonus pile is, of course, another Dave Stevens cover, Johnny Quest, issue number 5. Just amazing looking cover here. I love the realistic aspects of the female character on the cover, and then this super cartoony dog character in the corner. Just really cool here. And again, happy to add this to my collection of Dave Stevens covers. All right, last and certainly not least, this is probably the book I am the most excited to pick up in the last couple of weeks. And I happened to pick this one up on Father's Day. One of the local shops here in town was running a sale, 30% off of all back issue comics. And I knew that they had gotten this particular comic in recently because they had posted it up on Facebook. And so on Father's Day, I dragged the family with me. We went on a couple errands and just did some fun stuff together in town. But I said, hey, I want to run by this comic shop. They're having a 30% off sale. I want to see if this certain comic is still there. And they happen to have it. Now, this is a book that I've been wanting to add to my collection for quite a while. It's an Uncanny X-Men book. So it's, right there with a series that I've been collecting a lot. And without further ado, it just happens to be Uncanny X-Men 266, arguably the first appearance of Gambit. Obviously, we can argue between this book and the annual. I've got 1 or 2 copies of the annual, but I've never had the 266. Super excited to add this collection. It's in really nice shape, and buying it for 30% off just makes it even that much more exciting. It was a great Father's Day gift, an experience. Just made the day. Obviously, the kids and wife made the day for me as well. But this was just, the icing, frosting, cherry on top of the milkshake, however you want to say it. Just a great way to cap off that day and add another great book to my collection. All right, well, there's the 3 piles of books from the last 3 weekends and the last 3 shows that I've attended. I think I picked up some really cool stuff. I added quite a few books to my Amazing Spider-Man and Uncanny X-Men run. Especially that Uncanny X-Men 266 first appearance of Gambit. That's the one that I consider to be his first appearance, especially because, the market kind of dictates that that's the book that's his first appearance. We can also go Hulk 180, 181, that argument as well. I consider 266 to be the real first appearance of Gambit. Also super excited to add all those Dave Stevens comics to my collection, whether it's the ones that I picked up from KC Fancon or the one I got off of eBay recently. Just super excited to add those to the collection. Quite a few other books that I'm looking to pick up in the future with his artwork on the cover, but just really excited to add those as well. And then, a couple books here and there, the She-Hulks and the Spider-Woman to add into those smaller runs that I'm collecting. Just overall, some really cool books that I'm happy to add to my collection. And I'm happy to visit some of those local shows. One of them I had never been to, but I'm looking forward to making that part of my yearly list of shows that I attend. And then, going back to Smallville ComicCon in my hometown for, I don't know how many years I've been attending it in a row. I haven't gone every year since they started, but I've probably gone the last 5 to 6 years for sure. So super excited to hit that one up this year again as well. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've hit up any shows lately or if you have any planned. It's summertime. You might be going on vacation. Maybe you can hit a show in a larger market that you don't normally have access to. That'd be really cool. Let me know, like I said, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. I'm trying to become more regular with the release of videos on the channel. So if you're subscribed, that will make sure that you get to see them as I release them. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next video.